So in the past, I've mostly spoken about TV shows that were good but were overlooked. This week, I'm going to focus on some notoriously bad shows you may have never seen or heard about. Beverly Hills Bunts. Beverly Hills Bunts was an odd idea. It was a spin-off of the successful cop drama Hill Street Blues. It focused on the character of Norman Bunts, whose character in Hill Street Blues was pretty much a dirty cop. For the spin-off, someone decided that a cop drama about a dirty private eye in Beverly Hills wouldn't work, so for some reason they decided to make it a sitcom. Needless to say, for the few people who tuned in, they were very confused over the ridiculous tonal shift. The pilot premiered on November 5th, 1987 on NBC. Apparently, they had such a hard time finding the right balance for the show, they shot 3 different versions of the pilot. The network truly believed this show could be a hit and placed it with their other must-see sitcoms, Cheers and Night Court. The show was a flop. They filmed 13 episodes but only aired 9. The show was canceled on April 22, 1988. It's never been released on DVD, but all the episodes, including the unaired ones, are available on YouTube. Most likely, the show was syndicated to some other markets where they played all the episodes. The show briefly derailed Franz's career, but he came back strong with another cop show, NYPD Blue, in 1993, where he played Detective Sergeant Sipowicz and won numerous awards. If Beverly Hills Bunts wasn't a spin-off, it probably would have worked. So if you're unfamiliar with his character in Hill Street Blues, and like the idea of a sitcom detective show, you might like this one. Heil Honey, I'm Home. Quite possibly one of the most insane ideas for a sitcom this side of Hogan's Heroes. Heil Honey, I'm Home is a British sitcom about Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun. This really happened.
I'm a very, very bad Hitler.
It's 1938 and they live next door to a Jewish couple, the Goldsteins. The pilot aired on September 30th, 1990 on the Galaxy Network, a British satellite TV channel. The show was meant to be a spoof on American sitcoms, where audiences would embrace almost any idea, no matter how stupid. For example, My Mother the Car. Apparently they were really taking shots at I Love Lucy. The pilot was about the British Prime Minister coming over to visit the Hitlers, but Adolf is afraid that the Goldsteins will interrupt the visit, so he gets them drunk. Originally they were going to film 11 episodes, but they only ended up shooting 8. After the backlash from the pilot, they canceled the show and never aired the other 7. The Secretary General of the Board of Deputies of British Jews called the pilot something that was in very bad taste, and was upset at something that would trivialize the Second World War, Hitler, and the Holocaust. Jeff Atkinson, the creator of the show, said that it wasn't made for shock value. He conceded that the satire didn't come through well enough, and as others have said, it exceeded the limits of irony. Atkinson stated that most of the cast were Jewish, and they didn't have a problem with it. Further showing how the program was a parody, the episodes after the pilot had an animated opening that was very similar to Bewitched. In the unaired episodes, it was about how Hitler was constantly scheming to try and kill the Goldsteins, only for his attempts to be foiled in the end due to his buffoonery. Apparently all 8 episodes are out there somewhere, but have yet to pop up on any of the usual places. First time I saw this, I thought it was a joke from Tim and Eric or something. It was so ridiculous I couldn't imagine it being real. The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer.
The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer. The P isn't silent.
The Secret Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer is about President Lincoln's butler during the Civil War. Before the show even aired, several activist groups protested the show due to its perceived comical takes on American slavery. The show premiered on October 5th, 1998 on UPN. They shot 9 episodes for the series. The pilot they had was a little too edgy, so the network panicked and decided not to air it, and instead to air episode 2 as the pilot. From what I gather, the pilot was about Desmond getting hired as Lincoln's butler and trying to figure out a way to get back to his home in England. Not sure what was so offensive in there that they didn't want to show it, and since it's never been released, we'll probably never know. Most likely it was some, let's say, less than appropriate jokes about the subject matter. This is especially interesting because the pilot is what the executives see. That helps them to decide whether or not they should take this idea and make a full series or not. So whatever's on there, the bosses at UPN thought it was funny enough at the time. No one was watching the show. It was the 116th watched show out of 125. That's abysmally bad for a new show. They canceled it on October 26th, 1998. They aired 4 episodes and never showed the last 5. The show ended up on 100 Dumbest Events in Television History and many other worst of type lists. Evidently, the show is supposed to be a critique of, all things, the Bill Clinton-Monica Lewinsky scandal. Regardless, it's still a very bad idea for a sitcom. Maybe not quite as bad as Heil Honey, I'm Home, though. While the show hasn't been released on DVD, and most likely never will, you can see the few episodes that aired on YouTube if you're so inclined. Viva Lachlan! Viva Lachlan was a remake of the British TV series Blackpool. Blackpool was about the murder of a young man in a Blackpool arcade, and the effects it had on the people who worked there. Oh, and it was also a musical, but an odd musical. They'd play the real track for whatever song they had, and then the actors would sing along. The show was later rebranded as Viva Blackpool when it aired on BBC America. Viva Lachlan took the Viva from the rebranded show and pretty much did the same program, only making it take place in Lachlan, Nevada. They also did the sing-along with the original songs, but in Viva Lachlan, from what I've seen, the singers weren't exactly the best. Taken on their own, it might not have been so bad, but when paired with the original artist, you get something like this.
I'm still standing better than I ever did. Looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid.
Viva Lachlan premiered on October 18, 2007 on CBS. It immediately caught the attention of the Soup and was mocked mercilessly. Hugh Jackman's a huge fan of musicals. His background in Australia was from the theater. So this was his project, and he was an executive producer. The ratings and buzz for the show were so dismal, CBS canceled the show after its second episode on October 21st, 2007. They shot 7 episodes but only aired the 2. It's never been released on DVD, it was never rebroadcast in any way, and the 5 remaining unaired episodes will most likely never be seen because it would cost more than it's worth to release it due to the music rights. The funny thing is, if they just did the program like a normal musical and did covers of all the songs, the show would have been much cheaper to produce. Buying the rights to a song versus buying the rights to be able to cover a song is a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not sure why they were so insistent upon keeping that part of the original going. It's not like 99% of the American audience was even aware this was a remake. Beyond that, Blackpool didn't do so well either. It only ran for 7 episodes. Probably the best thing about that was that they had a pre-Doctor Who David Tennant. Puchinsky. Puchinsky is about Chicago police detective Stanley Puchinsky, who's killed in the line of duty, and his spirit winds up in an English bulldog that can't stop farting. Because you can't keep a good cop down, Puchinsky returns to solving crimes, only now he's a talking dog. This is a real show that exists, that people made and costs a pretty good deal of money.
Your partner was murdered and you sat down? Excuse me!
The show was originally a pilot that NBC passed on, but they picked the show up and aired it once, out of curiosity to see if there was an interest, and as a way to fill a spot in their lineup. It premiered on July 9th, 1990 on NBC. You'd think this would have been an animated show, but nope, it was live action, using an animatronic dog with Peter Boyle's voice. I love a good practical effect, but dear God, this dog looks almost as believable as Triumph.
For me to poop on!
The show was an experiment, and as such, it wasn't repeated. It only aired that one time. Although in 2018, the last podcast on the left aired the show on an Adult Swim live stream. With all the weird programming on Adult Swim, I'm surprised they didn't try to reboot this. Probably would have been a huge success. At the time, the show was mocked and forgotten. Even now, it sounds too ridiculous to be real, but I assure you, this actually happened on major network television. The show is never available on any format, but yes, it's on YouTube. If you have some crazy idea for a TV show but are too afraid to get it out there, you should think of this show. While it wasn't picked up, it was greenlit enough to make a pilot. So get out there with your crazy idea, especially in today's market where all these streaming networks need content. Your wacky show about a cybernetic chicken that rules a prehistoric Earth might be one rewrite away from being picked up for a series on HBO Max. Well, that's another 5 shows. These ones are really notorious, and while not the worst things, they certainly aren't the best. If you insist on seeing them, you know where to look. Just don't expect quality. In fact, don't expect anything. Just don't yell at me about how bad these are if you decide to watch them.
Everybody loves somebody sometime. Everybody falls in love somehow.
Chinsky, how did you become a dog?